To episode 42 of the Die, Laugh, Love podcast. A reminder that before we all die, we should do our damnedest to get some love and laughter in before we get to that place that we all end up at. And this is episode 42. We are recording it on March 24th. This will be the last podcast episode that I host in our current space because we are moving our physical business from Cottage Street in Littleton down to Main Street. It's a great move. I just really don't recommend doing it more than you have to because it has been quite the slog getting this done. I do want to welcome my co-host and wonderful compatriot, Brandy, here. Brandy has volunteered to help me out during these podcasts because as I'm doing my thing here, it's kind of difficult to manage the waiting room and to manage the chats and all of that. So she has volunteered to help me and do all of that. I am going to pass the host of this session over to Brandy right now so she can respond to your chats and let folks in from the waiting room. I do want to let folks know that this episode is a little bit different than my normal Spirit Gallery format. This is a question and answer podcast, meaning that I have gotten a couple of requests from folks to take questions and to offer up answers. It's something that I've never done before, so I'm curious as to how it's going to go. So with that being said, I want you to kind of get your questions ready for me. I want to give you the parameters that I want to work with. I don't want to answer anything about your personal lives, okay? Like, why won't this guy text me back? Those sorts of questions. I want to answer questions about anything that, might have experienced or questions about the world of spirit, about psychic medium gifts, reincarnation, anything that you might have questions for in terms of this realm of the world. I also want to let everybody know that I am only the authority of my experience, and I can only speak from my experience. There are a ton of people that do this work, and, as a saying goes, you ask four people a question, you're going to get five different answers. So I just want to let everybody know that I'm only offering up my experience and the things that I have learned along the way. I will say that that has to count for something because I am very much a scientist when I do this work. It was a science experiment that helped me get into this path and, figure out that I have something going on. I do want to just, kick it off with some questions. And what you can do here for anybody that does have a question about any of this stuff, please send that to Brandy. Brandy, wave your hand, show everybody your little square. Okay. Make sure that you send it to Brandy because she's going to unmute herself and she's going to actually ask me the questions. I do want to speak to you specifically. So if you wave your hand while I'm talking to you, maybe unmute you. I am going to do my best to answer the questions. I am supposed to tell everybody here that not a guarantee at all, but I might very well, once I get connected to you, have a message for you from Spirit that has nothing to do with your question. So I'm not in control of that. I just want to give that as an addendum that I might actually be speaking to something outside of your question when I get connected to you. So, Brandy.
Okay. First question is from Erin. She's wondering how you learned how to manage boundaries with spirits.
How do you learn how to manage boundaries with spirit? Okay, so Erin, wave if that's your question. Give me a wave. Hi. All right, so I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, or if you could unmute yourself and Brandy could help you unmute yourself. How do you manage boundaries with spirit? That's going to be an interesting question because for me, the best way that I can describe it is that when I step into the position of what I'm doing, I am very much kind of opening an internal set of eyes. I don't walk through the grocery store feeling people's spirits. I don't have intrusive spirits. I don't have intrusive ancestors. I take great issue with people who claim that happens with them. And like a person in my position is certainly not supposed to run up to somebody in the produce department and um, tell them that their grandmother has a message. It's highly inappropriate. In terms of spirit, I would say that there is a lot of different options, land spirits, spirits of the land. Certain buildings and certain towns have energy from an unseen place. There are ancestors, higher selves and souls that carry on, which as a medium, that's who I'm speaking to. There are also ghosts, which are different than souls, and that's a whole other conversation. And then there's other beings like angels, um, gods, what have you. In terms of boundaries, it's sort of just something that has happened for me by itself. And I would encourage folks to remember to be highly discerning in terms of what you think is yours and what is somebody else's. When we're talking about this, Aaron, I think that we might actually be talking about, like empathy, when somebody has empathy or they have the ability to feel others. When
Mm-hmm.
we feel another person's emotion or perhaps what's coming off of them energetically, it's not necessarily a spirit or an ancestor delivering a message all the time. It could be just that you're picking up on the radio wavelength that they're kind of broadcasting off. Do you have a particular type of spirit that you're referring to that maybe I can ask or better answer that question?
Um, well, I know I have different spirit guides that I have with me, and then I believe my mom's still hanging out with me, and they seem very respectful as far as not intrusive or anything. But when I have watched you work, I've been very curious if I was to, um, or me or anyone else who like opens up and is able to be intuitive and catch on to things. Like, how would they? I know that boundaries are important, and I have a hard enough time with the physical. And so, holding an energetic boundary seems like even very important to me.
I can only speak from my experience. So when
Mm,
I've done this, I have mentioned this before that, I found that I have like this angel or this big spirit that helps me. I very much talk to them. They're
hmm
the ones that I'm not Josh the medium when I go through the grocery store, and they're the one
Yeah.
that kind of facilitates this. And like when I'm in a group of 100 people, I'm not in control of who I get to talk to or who comes through. So it's kind of, having that faith in that ancestor spirit guide and
hmm
to be able to talk to them. You know,
Yeah.
you can use words like gatekeepers, doorman, doorwoman, what have you. You
hmm
can definitely ask. Okay.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when it comes to spirit slash energetic work, it's our imagination, it's our mind, it's the visuals that we use and the visuals that we see. I oftentimes will uh, close a window between me and an energy vampire just in my mind.
hmm
So,
Okay.
anybody who's an energy vampire, I have this thing that I do in my head where I just close a window and I don't
Mm-hmm.
allow their stuff to get on me. And I think it's just really important when we're talking about empathy and the ability to feel other people. The one thing that I always go back to in regards to that, it's about observing and not absorbing. Like
Yeah.
you observe, but you don't absorb. And I think a lot of us think we can fix somebody's problem by absorbing their energy and,
hmm
getting into that place of trying to solve it for them or with them. So I hope that helps. It's just something that's
Yeah.
kind of happened along the way for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer than that.
No, I think that works. Great.
Thank you. All right, Brandy, another question.
All right. Next question is from Devin. I'm just going to read them in the order that they come into the chat. And
Sure, thank you.
sure. Devin is curious about animal spirits. Do they reincarnate?
Some of them do. Devin. Some of them do, and I'll tell you what that means. And Devin, you can take yourself off mute for me here as we talk about this. So, what I have discovered is that, and again, I try not to get into the woo too much of things, but you know how like we're told that we're like in a 3D world, like this is
Yeah.
our 3D world, and we're
Yeah.
kind of like a 3D spirit while we're here.
Mhm.
I'll use 2D to kind of describe, an animal. So if you were to take like a feral cat, like a
Mhm.
cat that's out in the town or out in the woods and it doesn't know a human,
Mhm.
we use the words spirit and soul interchangeably,
Mhm.
but we shouldn't because they're different.
Yeah.
We have a spirit, which I equate to the aura or our bioelectromagnetic field that we put off as a living being. And then we have a soul, which is the higher part of us that carries on. Um, when that feral cat dies, its spirit, the energy of the living creature, the spirit just kind of gets recycled in the earth. Like
Mhm.
the earth is just this giant, like, battery of energy. Uh, Spirits moving in and out of that energy source, if you will. When we love a pet, and we name it and we give it a sense of self or a sense of individuality, there's a process where I think that soul or the spirit kind of evolves into a soul. And when we give an animal a sense of self, like a name, that's when it sort of reincarnates. And there are some schools of thought that that's kind of how we started. So I know that one of my earlier podcasts, I can remember it had the word willow in it. I channeled a willow tree that somebody gave a name,
Mhm.
piranha. Somebody loved their piranha and gave their piranha a name, so that piranha had kept going in spirit. Uh, but it's more the love that we have that kind of evolves them per se, and sometimes they can then step into like a human life, or they might just circle back around and become another dog. I'm not sure. I'm not, again, an expert on the rule book exactly, but yeah,
Okay.
generally speaking, that's how we bring them with us. Okay.
Okay, next question is from Karen. Karen is curious uh, to know if when someone crosses, do their illnesses stay with them? For example, anxiety.
What I know is that when we pass, we go through like a life review, we go through a healing process. And what I've found is that the the deeper the amount of trauma and pain that we experience, and then the more traumatic the illness a person goes through, it lengthens the amount of time of healing and going through that life review and kind of getting on our feet. Uh, the more peaceful life, the more peaceful passing, we seem to get on our feet in spirit faster. So there is this sort of process that we all go through. Anxiety is something that we lose. Depression is something that we lose. Those are kind of illnesses of the mind itself, and we move to a place that's beyond mind. What I will say that's interesting is that I have felt a couple of instances where people who have had severe head trauma, like strokes or head injuries, that can definitely change how quickly or deeply a person is affected in spirit. So there is something to say about our soul and our consciousness um, being changed, if you will, by severe injuries like that. But I do know that essentially when we go through the washing machine, that's kind of like what I call it. When we die, we go through the washing machine. There's no fear. We as spirit, once we're in spirit, we look into the world of humans, we take care of the people that we love, we look over the people that we love. And essentially, the only thing that could ever cause us pain or anxiety or suffering while we're in spirit is watching our loved ones here suffer. There is a big, I don't, there's a bigger, higher understanding when we move to spirit, what that whole process of incarnating and deincarnating and reincarnating looks like. So we kind of know that we're going to do it again down the road. But in terms of like the anxiety, that's something that we kind of pick up here. We work through that and heal through that when we pass. Short answer.
Okay. The next question says, I have 3 family members whom I lost within a 6-month period. My question is, would those 3 people be together?
Yes. We go to the same place, we meet the same people, we all go through the same process. It's very much like, and I know I say this as a metaphor, but it's birth in reverse. It's birth in reverse. And this was to a Sherry, you said, Brandy?
Yes.
Okay. So, Sherry, wave your hand for me, please, so I can see you. Okay. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
All right. Sherry, question for you. Just a question. Would one of those people that you lost had been a male with a drinking problem?
No.
All right. What I do need to tell you is like, and I don't know why I need to tell you this, okay?
Yep.
If somebody like had a drinking problem during life and then they pass, they're gonna see the effect of that. Like they're gonna understand where it came from. You know, like when we struggle from, say, alcoholism, um, we understand it in a like a higher place. We understand what it was, where it came from, how it would have impacted us. So we go through this kind of knowing. They are going to be in the same place, but what they do when they get on their feet is going to be completely different. Now, Sherry, it's an interesting thing, because bear with me here as I ask you this question. Can I ask? You said 3 people, right? You
Yes.
lost 3 people. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the person that you would consider the middle individual. You know, not the first person that you lost, not the last person you lost, but the person in the middle. Would you know of them being affected by a man who drank?
I mean, his roommate
Would
at
there
one point used to, but he kind of stopped doing that.
would there be a person that they left here that was a man who was drinking?
Yes.
Okay. So here's why I'm being like, this is why I'm getting this information, or especially around yours. Um, when we pass away and we go into spirit, it's not static. We somehow still overlap and interact. And what I notice, it's a really clunky analogy, but it's the one that works. We become like antivirus programs on a computer. You know, like when you have a computer and there's an antivirus program, it's not doing anything, but then a threat happens. Okay. Like a
Yeah.
threat will happen. And then the program gets activated. That's kind of how our spirits are when we're like chill and nothing's going on. Our spirits will activate when there's threats in our world, in our life, in our sphere. And one of the things that I see is that spirit will oftentimes help a person through their health things. Like I've sat with clients before, channeled dad, channeled brother, channeled this, and somebody will say, well, I was kind of hoping to hear from my mom. And as soon as they say that, I'm in the belly of their sister. And I'm like, your sister has a belly thing going on, like a health thing, you know, what have you. um, Mom's not here. Mom's going to leave all the messages to dad and brother and what have you. But mom is actually going to be in that person's body trying to help them heal. And when you ask that question, I'm being drawn very much to your middle person and something about a man who's drinking.
Yeah. It
So
makes a
even
lot of
alcohol would
sense.
be one of those effects that we would want to try to stop the effects of.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. The middle person would have been my brother. He passed 4 months to the day after my mom. My youngest brother, who lived with him, has a serious drinking and alcohol problem, sometimes drugs. But when my brother was in the hospital, my other brother that was living there was, seeing little people. He was drinking, he wasn't sleeping. And I mean, it was insane. It was really crazy.
So your brother is going to be with the other brother, trying to maybe give him energy, push him. Like oftentimes when we feel out of balance, like something's wrong, it's because we're kind of getting pushed on by our spirits, like go in this direction. So somebody who's got a bad drinking problem like that will definitely be getting some sort of push or message to take care of themselves. If they don't listen because of the story they're stuck in, the spirit's still going to help them with their body, with their particular ailments, up to the point where they can't.
Good.
So yes, we go to the same place, but it's like you and I are in the same place. We do different things. We look over different people. It's definitely it definitely goes down to who do we love, who needs us the most, and how can we help them from where we're at.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because when my youngest brother who had the addiction moved in with my brother who passed before, he had actually gotten his shit together for a while, was doing much better, and then as my brother got sick and was in and out of the hospital that last month, he was just gone. I mean, he just lost it. And even to this day, I say, dude, you need alcohol counseling, and it's not the alcohol. It's never the alcohol. So he's going to be homeless pretty soon, and he's been there before. He chooses to live his life that way, and I just keep checking to make sure he's all right.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that my brother is there pushing him, because he was the one that really impacted him the most.
Trying to.
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount that they can do, and there's only a certain amount that some of us can receive.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Thank you so much. That was very, very helpful for me. I appreciate
Excellent.
that.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, Brandy, next one. Here we go.
Okay, next one is from Karen again. She asks, when she feels tingles in her body, is that a spirit letting her know that he's there?
It can be. It absolutely can be. What I can say is, we oftentimes hear about like the five senses, and then we hear about the sixth sense, which I think is the first sense, and then all the other senses come after it. It can be. For anybody that needs to know this, the very first way that spirit, any of them, will say hello to us is through our sense of smell. We'll randomly smell like their cologne or their hair, their cigarette smoke. I can't tell you that it's not Karen, because one, I can't prove that it isn't him. It's not a common way for them to get through, but there could be something very peculiar about your body and the way that they can come through, like deja vu's kind of one of those ways, or goosebumps in that way. The other thing that could happen, Karen, is that you could have like a thing in your body where your body tingles, and then you think of your spirit. I can't say that that's not being coordinated in a way that's getting you to think of that spirit. So I can say most likely it is. I can't say definitively it is. If you feel like it is, then your feeling is going to trump any of the knowledge that I can give you. What I can say is that there is a good chance. And Karen, if you wave your hand for me, so I know what square you're in. All right. Hi, Karen. Um, and if you could take yourself off mute for me. The spirit that you're talking about, can I ask you, has a like a prankster energy, a trickster energy, wants to mess with you?
He had a sense of humor. Yeah.
Sense of humor. Yeah. That's like it almost feels like a tickle, like when
Yeah.
like somebody tickles you, or I'm gonna say
Well, kind of.
and it's interesting too, Karen, when I get this. The I can give you probably a 99% chance that this is a yes. And the interesting thing that I get is I think this is like a male who had a sense of humor. I'm getting the fart smell. So like farts, and like, how we like that type of like youthful, like teenage kind of like energy. I do think that you're getting played with a little bit.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know if farts are anything that you would associate with your spirit, but this is definitely a joke.
It didn't feel like one though, because I don't even know if it can happen that fast, but the very first night, I could feel like a tingle in my chest, and it felt like him giving me a hug, and then just different times. So, maybe it was just me, like you said, imagining it. I don't know.
Well, no, if that's what it feels like, then you have to go with what you feel counts for something. I think, subsequently I get a very like youthful prankstery, gonna like try to give you a smile, joke with you, rib you, like that sort of energy is what I'm getting. So
Yeah.
um just let it be a hug, and let it be a prank, and let it be a laugh, and let it be a joke, and let it be all of that, okay?
Thank you.
Yes. Interesting. Can I also ask you, do you do popcorn in your house at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
You must have watched movies with this person, because like I'm getting like I like the popcorn, I like smelling the popcorn, like I want to like sit and watch movies with
Actually,
you, I want to have popcorn with you.
I kind of get that more from my dad than my. He used to love popcorn. He'd
That
put popcorn on ice
might be
cream.
him.
Yeah, he'd put
Yeah, it
ice
might
cream,
be him.
popcorn on ice cream. Yeah.
It might actually, that might actually be the spirit. Remember how I said death is birth in reverse?
Mhm.
So I'm always going to get the older dead first, because the older dead, the people who have been in spirit longer, are
Yeah.
going to have more ability. And what I've often found is that, say somebody who's been dead 20 or 30 years has the ability to then bring somebody who's been past, say, 3 months. It's like bringing a newborn up and talking on their behalf. So it's a weird sort of idea that, and this is hard for us to understand because we're all humans and we're individual humans. The world of spirit is very much like a hive, like a collective. So when we return to our group, we return to our family, it's almost like, one spirit here, another spirit here, they're in layers, and they can come to you at the same time.
Hmm. Okay.
I hope that helps. Just, I don't think
Okay.
it's nothing for you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. It
You're
could have been my
welcome. All right,
dad give.
Brandy.
It could have been my dad give me a hug. When that happened. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela is next. Angela is curious to know that if someone didn't believe in mediums when they were living, will they come through or talk to one after
Oh yeah.
passing?
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. Like the same process happens to us all. Like we go to the same place, same process, we go through the same life review, we go through the same healing. Um, yeah, for sure. They will.
Missy is next. Her question is, how do you know that you have a gift to talk to spirits?
How do I say this? I think everybody has a gift to talk to spirit. I think everybody has a connection, and I think it all exists on like how much a spectrum. Some people have a little bit of it, some people have a lot of it, and it's different for everybody based on all sorts of different variables. I think that we all can at least hear from spirit. And if we're hearing from them, I mean, we could always talk to them. It's again, the analogy I use is like a one-way mirror we see in a cop show. Like we're on the side of the suspects, they're on the side of the cops. They can see us and feel us to a degree that we can't. We can all get information from them. What I will say is that like when I went into the science experiment part of this, when I basically had to go figure out for myself whether I had something legitimate or I was developing a mental illness, I had to sit in front of people that I did not know. And sitting in front of a person, people that I didn't know, gave me the ability to say, I'm feeling this, sensing this, tasting this. What does this mean? Who is this? And then there's where that evidence comes from. Um, I don't know if everybody has the gift to speak on behalf of spirit to the general public. That's a whole different kind of realm. Spirit puts you through different things for that. I think when it comes to especially like family stuff, knowing stuff, everybody is going to have connection to like moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas that will want to kind of push on us and go, like those moments where you can't help but keep thinking about a certain person, like some certain person keeps popping in your head. Well, that's like that conversation to get on the phone with them, call them up, see how they're doing, ask how they're doing, check in on them. um I would say, Missy, if you're local, for us, we have uh tarot club here on Sundays, and that's a way to kind of sit across from somebody that you don't know and go, I'm feeling this, I'm smelling this, I'm tasting this, I'm sensing this. In this work, there's all sorts of what they call the clairs, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairomniscience. Like there's all sorts of clairs and kind of knowing. I oftentimes talk about like what I'm smelling, what I'm tasting, as symbols. Spirit will have certain symbols for folks. Like if I'm all of a sudden around somebody tasting bananas, I know that they get cramps in their calves because their potassium level is low. It's going to be different for me as it is going to be different for the next person. What I can say is that if you have a gift for like hearing from spirit and knowing those things, um, it's kind of finding ways to test the messages you get in a way that doesn't freak people out, is not intrusive or rude. Like if you're working with somebody and you just, you know, keep seeing things or hearing things or feeling things around them, there's got to be a way that, you can check in with them without freaking them out or asking them. And then maybe you get a little bit of validation and go, okay, I'm a crack in the wall for spirit. This is what I've seen oftentimes, like especially in groups of people. Some people have just a natural proclivity for this. They won't even know that they're talking to spirit, but like every single one of you has a group of ancestors with you, and you get around certain people that are cracks in the wall from spirit to hear. Those ancestors will kind of like jump on you and go, oh, you're a light, you can kind of feel this. I'm going to kind of sit with you and push this message to you, because you might be a person that can say, hey, don't you know don't grieve so long. There's going to be a way that you can talk to folks, but essentially it's going to be evidence. And the other thing too is, as I was talking to Karen and I was really getting hit with the popcorn, that was her spirit. Like she had an association with her dad and popcorn. He used to put it on ice cream. That was her dad's way of coming through me in that moment. So, it's the things that come to you out of nowhere for no reason. And it's the things when you can, in a safe way, validate them. That's going to be a challenge, I think, for anybody. Okay. Next one,
Okay.
Brandy.
Next one is from Jen. How do you determine if it's a sign from a loved one or a coincidence? And also, can our pets sense a past loved one's spirit?
How do you know if it's a message from a loved one versus coincidence? That's a tricky one because sometimes it's both. I don't want to be evasive when I give this answer. I've just talked to a lot of people that say, I ask for a sign, and I don't get anything. Well, there's also the people who ask for a sign and they see signs everywhere. Um, so how do you know the difference? Sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll just have to say, hey, it's a sign from a loved one. I will say, um, signs can be really weird. Like radios can come on for no reason, lights can flicker. Their ability to manifest and manipulate our reality is different. there's so many things that change that. For instance, if you live in a house that's got a lot like a wet basement or a stone basement or a dirt basement, spirit activity is going to be greater there. If you live near water, spirit has a better ability to like manifest around water. Depending on how much water you have in your body, spirit can be stronger or more quiet. There's so many different variables. I will say, for you, Jen, and it feels like this might be specific to your question. I would really have you pay attention to creatures of wing, like creatures that have wings, like birds, hummingbirds, butterflies, luna moths, anything that's got wings. You want to pay attention to things that have wings because they can weirdly manipulate them and move them around. And the other question was, can animals sense loved ones, deceased loved ones?
Yes.
Okay. They can, but there's a caveat. And I want to kind of talk about this. I want to describe to folks what my understanding of a ghost is. So like a ghost, we hear the word ghost and we think that it is a trapped soul. I've never ever in my entire experience ever seen a soul or a higher self get trapped. That process that we go through when we die, like the reuniting, going to the next place, going through the healing, going through all of that, I've never seen it not happen. But here's what can happen. When I was talking about the relationship of like spirit and soul, your body has a spirit and your body has a soul. When somebody dies in a very traumatic way, like ideally we're all supposed to like pass away in a bed, at peace. And when somebody dies in like a very violent or tragic or sudden way, the process of like the spirit returning to the earth, the energy of our spirit kind of just getting recycled, our auric energy kind of getting recycled in the big earth battery, that can stop. Like that can get corrupted. And there are a ton of ghosts walking around all around us because there's been accidents. One of the things that I pick up on a lot when I go to different towns is Revolutionary War spirits. They're not the souls of trapped people. They're the leftover kind of shade energy of the spirit that something so dramatic happened to them that they stopped. I think animals can pick up on like ghost energy, leftover spirit energy versus a higher self. And there's a process that we can go through where that sort of, I hate to use the word recycle, but it's the best word. The recycling of our spirit, that can take a long time because there is something left of us in that spirit. There's a little bit of personality, there's a little bit of memory, those things like we can hold on to. So, if say Graham died in a sudden way and there's something about her spirit that's having a hard time moving on or going through that process, she'll be like, I want to go check out the new born grandbaby, or I want to go check in on my pet, and I want to go check in on my fur baby, that sort of energy. There's very few hard and fast rules here, but pets are more likely going to pick up on the dimension of spirit versus soul, if that helps. This is why I don't like ghost hunters, because ghost hunters, I don't like them. I don't like what they do. I feel like they're abusing trapped animals. Like, I just really don't like what ghost hunters do. I think it's gross. So I hope that helps.
The next question is from Molly. And she says that she wonders about the lack of communication with her deceased dad, and wondering if she has shut down her own psychic gifts in favor of being ordinary, but wonders if that hurts her.
Well, you don't know dad hasn't reincarnated, Molly. Like Like if dad's soul has decided to come back on vacation and come back to Earth, you're not going to feel him in that way. You just won't. So you could shut him off. Or the other thing that's fascinating to consider, there could be somebody left on Earth who's suffering physically, mentally, emotionally, and dad is with them. It's not like dad doesn't care about you. It's just like, I don't have to be with you. I don't have to support you. I don't have to heal with you. I'm going to go over there to your sister or your brother or whomever. There could be somebody that they want. The other interesting thing too is that I have seen spirit go weirdly when spirit, like when we move on to spirit, there are some of us who don't have family to look over. I've seen a lot of like souls that aren't reincarnating yet go to South America. There's a lot of pain, a lot of kids, a lot of like hurt kids, pain in South America. We can go and help people with our energy and spirit. We don't necessarily have to have them as family, but I wouldn't take it personally, um, because the other part of that process too, Molly, is you got to remember your dad in spirit. He's not your dad anymore. He's the soul that was once your dad, which means he still has, those memories and that personality. But, a few hundred years ago, he could have been a housemaid, he could have been, a few hundred years before that, he could have been somebody completely different. So when we moved back to spirit, we go back to the person that we were in all of our lives. And the further away we are from our point of death into our point back into this life, um, I don't want to say the more distilled or the more pure our soul gets, but as we go through that, the healing and the life review, and we're shaking off the effects of, the alcoholisms and the trauma and the anxieties, we become a more purified soul that will contain the memories. But if dad is around you and it's been a while since he's passed, you could be in contact with him. You could be getting messages. You could be getting support. You could be getting love without actually knowing that it's coming from him. Or he's reincarnated because he doesn't have to watch out over you, or there's other spirits that are going to be taking a look out over you. He could just be like a real adventurous type and be like, I want to go back to Earth. I want to go through that process again. So there's a couple of different options there, but I would never want you to think that it's because you've been abandoned. Don't ever think it's because you've been abandoned. Um, we'll be left to our own devices, uh, most especially when we can take care of ourselves, when we're at peace, and we don't have to really worry about getting the assistance or the help from spirit. All right, let's churn and burn them, Brandy.
All right. Abigail says, I am curious about natural abilities and how one can reconnect to them if you were sensitive or contacted as a child, but were swayed away from that part of you, as I was.
So imagination is really the key here. Play is the key. Being childlike is the key. I oftentimes talk about our relationship with our physical self is like horse and rider. A lot of times, people as children will have more sensitivity, more gifts, or more awareness in these realms, and it's puberty. Like going through puberty will really entrench us in the physical form and kind of um, trap us in that sort of physical process. Um, and this came from Abby, you said, Brandy?
Yes.
Okay, so Abby, wave your hand for me. Where are you? Okay, hi. Abby, um, can I ask, when you were a kid, did you like the swings on a swing set?
Yes.
Okay, you got to go play on a swing set. Seriously. Like, you got to go do something very childlike and try to get back before that. Um, you can call them back in, you can call your abilities back in. I'm just really seeing you playing on a playground, a swing set, getting some joy in. Um, trying to do something that Can I ask Abby, and I know a lot of us do you identify with the word anxiety?
No,
Don't get any anxiety? That's going to be the number one way to cut off that gift.
no, I would say
Um,
that I hardly ever experience anxiety. So when I do, it feels very paralyzing for me because it's usually like survival. Like I'm gonna about to get a car crash and then I feel anxiety, but like I'm never anxious about anything. Like I talk to
okay,
every
so
person. I'm very extroverted. I don't like worry or panic or anything like that. So I would say like my anxiety is only survival based, like, you know, fight or flight is just survival based for me.
that's excellent. For folks who have the same question, I have to speak to that anxiety. You know, if you get anxiety, what have you. The interesting thing, I think. Okay, swinging is very rhythmic on our body, and in a lot of ancient traditions, and I use this word very respectfully, in a lot of shamanic traditions, people will rock back and forth or side to side, you know, when they're going into trance, those types of things. So I would think about like what trance could do for your body, some rocking back and forth. I also want to say too, how do you know that you're not in contact with your gifts? Because um I'm a firm believer that so long as we're speaking from love, we're speaking from our gifts. You know, we're speaking from spirit. Like if we're speaking from a place of love, uh the other thing I would have you do too is um are you Reiki trained at all?
No, but I get Reiki as often as possible.
Okay. I feel like there's something that you can do in your food.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have a gram that did it jams, jellies, jams, jarred things?
No, she wasn't a great cook. She was a good baker.
Good baker. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't know why I'm seeing a jar of jelly or a jar of jam and like eating it. That's like eating Graham's jelly, or and what I'm getting is that the things that you're eating, they're like it's like think magic potion or spell, like Reiki. If you have a really good Reiki uh practitioner and you like jelly or jam, have them do some Reiki to it.
Okay.
You know, it's the organic stuff that can take that energy. Um, but hold on. They're pointing me to a certain place, Abby. So give me a moment here. You had a Graham that was a baker, but not like a good cook.
Hmm.
Okay. Never did jams. Did you have anybody like an aunt or anybody, mother-in-law, anybody that did jams, canning?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You might want to ask around because what I'm getting is like go up that side of the family.
Okay.
It might just be, well, that's what I'm seeing because she was a baker.
Hmm.
You know, I'm seeing like the red and white cloth, pieces of cloth that people would put over the like the little mason jars. So I don't know if that's a message for somebody else or a message for you, but
Hmm.
um try to eat some foods. Oh, no, 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 no. Hold on, hold on. The message is not stopping. I'm trying to make sense of it, but I got to tell you, would jarring and jamming ever be something that you were um interested in?
That's yes. So we've been talking about doing like infusing honey.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might actually be eating honey could help you.
Okay.
All right. Uh, but there's also something about these messages and these gifts will come to us when we're doing something rhythmic, where like we're kind of zoning out. Like crocheting and knitting can be something that's kind of gets us in a different brain, like different brain waves.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's something in the process of doing jarring and jamming that would be very rhythmic. If it's rhythmic, anything like that,
Yeah.
anything that's rhythmic, again, something that will get you to zone out and do like rhythm. That's
Mhm.
that's some ancient stuff. So you might just need to be rocking back and forth, listening to some meditation tracks, paying attention to the things that you get.
Mhm.
But try rhythm, okay?
Okay.
And zoning out.
All
Like
right.
driving is a really good way for all of us to get messages because we zone out when we drive.
It's funny you say that because I have my grandmother's card from her funeral in my mirror, and that's when I talk to my grandmother, is when I'm driving in my car.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's a reason why I'm saying that, but like you can talk and then you can listen. Um, One of the ways that I think is a really powerful way to touch base with our own intuition is you guys don't remember like when we'd play with magnets as a kid and we couldn't get them to touch? And then you'd flip one and then you could get it to touch and they'd connect. If you can develop what that feels like on the inside and you ask yes or no questions, like, yes, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Blah, 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 blah. And then you get that feeling like you can't connect. That's a no from them. Or, like if it feels like the magnets are coming together, that's a yes. So I would say, try to ask some yes or no questions and experiment with that, especially yes or no questions that you already know the answer to.
Right.
Like if anybody uses dowsing rods or pendulums, when they dowse or use pendulums, you're like always supposed to say, show me what a yes is, show me what a no is. So I know what that yes is, what that no is. You'll want to maybe even lean into that a little bit, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate these messages. They're really kind of putting pieces to the puzzle.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, Brandy, next question.
All right. Sherry says, have you ever felt unsafe doing this work? And do you have any ritual to prepare to communicate with spirit?
I've never felt unsafe doing this work. No. Never, never, never. Never, 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 never. I've
He
never
also
felt
says,
unsafe
I
doing
read
this
your
work.
first book. You explain it so well.
Thank you for that. I've never felt unsafe. And the reason being is that every single time I do it and every single time I'm connecting, and again, this is like the doorman or the gatekeeper that I have, every spirit that comes through is always of messages of wellness and love. It's always love. It's always wellness. It's always, like to the point where I'm very down to earth now and saying, hey, um, you got to think of me as a bullshit hunter because the spirits, when they're with me, they want to like help us with our bullshit. They want to help us with what's causing us pain and sorrow. So they want to move us away from it. Um, no, 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 no. The real monsters are humans. Like humans are the real monsters. Absolutely. And ritual. There was a question about a ritual.
Yes. She wonders if you have a ritual that you prepare to communicate with spirit.
I do. I wouldn't, and it would be a ritual. Like I have to the left of me here, like a little altar that's got a little cup of water, a place for candles, and a place for incense. And that's kind of like for when I'm in this space, it's kind of like putting the nurse's smock on. The spirit that's with me basically knows that when I'm here to do this, it's time to do this. And they just kind of know because I know. Um, if I'm ever traveling and going to like a live event or a group reading in a home, I always bring an offering of a little bit of maple syrup to pour out on the ground as an offering to the land spirits because land spirits are not human spirits and they're not if the spirits of the land have been taught through history and behavior by humans that the human energetic signature is bad. It doesn't matter if you're a good person, they're gonna like they will put pressure on you to get out of that space. So I kind of always sort of pray into the ground and make a little offering and saying, hey guys, I'm just here as a friend, as a steward. I appreciate your help while I'm here. Please don't mess with me in any way. Please don't obstruct this. Land spirits and working with the spirits of the land is a big thing. Um, and properties and homes and all of that can really impact this. In terms of a ritual, I do have, some prayers that I say. I have some stones I keep in my pocket, but essentially it's very much like that. Eye open, inner eye open, and inner eye closed. When I'm done with doing this work, I'm done with it, and I don't have to worry about walking into the grocery store.
The next question is from Sally. Why have I suddenly stopped getting signs, scents, or feelings from my loved one?
I don't know how much uh I don't know how much what I call space weather has to do with it. Like moon phases, planetary stuff. I don't know how much that has to do with it. Um, the other interesting thing too is I think I've already answered this question a little bit. I don't think that you've been abandoned. I think that there are people in this world who need your loved one more. So I would check in with, I'd kind of take an inventory in your head about like who's in your life. If you've lost, say, like a parent, a spouse, or somebody like that, and think of all of the people that are still living who are here. Think of the things in their life that might be increased emotional, mental, physical ailments. It's interesting that every soul that I speak to always has like a battery, like a capacity. And if somebody in the physical realm is hurting or in a really bad place, and you're in a relatively good place, like you're safe, you don't have any illness, what have you, they're going to just shift every bit of their energy to the person that they're caring for. So I would say, especially if this person has a child here, like if there's a child in this world that person cared over, or a few kids or grandkids, I would kind of take inventory and take stock about who's really going through it. And unfortunately, because of how private people are, sometimes we're not going to know. How often do people have like marital problems going on behind closed doors, but nobody would know because nobody's talking about it? It feels like something's going on in the background. Not that you're being abandoned, but that your loved one is like on the job. So I'm going to ask Sally, the person that you're speaking to, the person in spirit that you're not getting signs from or what have you, um, they've got to be like a helper, like a caretaker, somebody who would look after their loved ones here. I would then go, who's suffering, who's got problems, who's got drama, who's got health issues, and go there with that person. That's what we do. So not that you're abandoned, it's just that the job, the attention and the focus and the amount of energy they have has shifted. Okay. All right.
All right. Susie says, are all spirits willing to come through with messages if they left with negative feelings for their family?
So I like to say that spirit always meets us where we're at. They know us better than we do. I will give you, for instance, I went to, about a week ago, I went to a home, that this woman had coordinated a group reading with a bunch of her coworkers. And so, they were all friends, but they weren't family. And I'm doing my thing and I'm talking about certain topics and I'm getting certain spirits for them, but there are some things that aren't appropriate in a group of people. And this is where oftentimes people will feel left out, like, oh, I don't want to care about it. So I had a woman in that group going, hey, like I recently lost my dad and I recently lost this person and I was hoping that they would come through. She asked me a question. I say one thing about the dad, like a little bit of a message, and she starts like bawling. Like she starts bawling. And I'm like, okay, so this is where like you're not ready for this. They're not going to do this to you. They're not going to come through and have this huge outburst of tears and grief because it's so raw, it's so fresh. What I do know is this for you, Susie. If they left negative energy here, negative feelings, they always learn from it and they always carry sorrow. If they have the strength and the opportunity to come through, they will do their damnedest to apologize. And this is going to be kind of big, heady, kind of a heady topic. Um, I'll use the example of like having a narcissistic mother who was hurtful, manipulated or made her kids feel certain things. um, she'll come through and apologize because she's in pain, because she sees how her actions have caused her daughters or kids to be in pain. But the only way she would never do that is if, for some reason, that inner process was serving that person at the time, like where they needed to feel certain things to get through life, or I don't know, they just know us better than we do. And they're going to meet us where we're at, and if they do have the opportunity to come through and apologize, they absolutely will. One, because they want us to be at peace, and two, it kind of serves them as well, because this is where it gets really weird for us when we die. If we intentionally cause pain to people, we kind of have to bear witness to that pain and the repercussions of that pain. So if the narcissistic mom can come through and apologize and give that child some sort of peace, then both people have peace, the dead person and then the living person. I have seen times where some of that sort of like narcissistic or arrogant personality will stick with a person and they'll passively aggressively apologize. um so that whole evolution of spirit, it's not an instant thing. When we die, we're still learning, we're still kind of being taught through our own experiences. But if it's not serving a purpose and they have the opportunity to come through, they have the strength, the receiver has the strength, they always apologize. I hope that answers your question, Susie.
Mary Lou and Phoebe ask, if someone wanted to start training mediumship, how would they start?
So there's what's called in certain places, certain schools, certain teachers have what's called circles to sit with other people, to get into that meditative state, to hold on to the energy of what they're receiving. Um, it's very difficult to find people that you don't know, because like once you know somebody, and this can be difficult for me too, because like once I know something about somebody, it becomes a filter through which I receive everything else. So I always try to ask for the blank slate. Don't want to know about you, don't want to know about your life. So to find people that you know nothing about, that's a hard one. But those are the people that you need to sit with. Maybe somebody, it's again practice, with people that could validate the things that you're receiving. It is literally just practice. This is why, and I put this in my new book that's coming out in June. The best way that you can kind of stretch these muscles and do this is if you do divination and cards first. Like, just learn how to read cards, learn how to read tarot, learn how to read oracle cards. Get yourself in a place where you can sit with people that you don't know, and then as you're sitting with people and you're stretching those muscles, then the mediumship will happen, and it, there are certain workshops that you can take. I really like John Holland. Phoebe, Mary Lou, do you know who John Holland is? So like John Holland is, he's just down to earth, and he does this. He can have trainings where you can go and sit with other people. But you want to put yourself in a place where, if you're not local to Littleton and you can't come to our tarot club, you're going to want to find a place near you, or start a place where you can kind of get into sharing readings. I'm going to read these cards. And then when you read those cards and you start looking at the symbols of your oracle and tarot cards, their spirits will then work through you. If you have that ability, they'll talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
So,
Yeah, I do.
do,
I'm part of John's community, the as well as Phoebe, so we do some work with him as well. I love him. He's not too far from us, so.
yeah, I just, again, how do I say this? I'm not a psychic that talks about being an empath. Like, I don't talk about star seeds. I don't talk about twin flames. There's just way too much bullshit in this world. And I'm kind of isolated in that way, because it's like, well, if you're a medium or psychic, you should fit into a mold. Um, I like John because he's very down to earth. He speaks very plainly,
Yeah,
and
he's a no
there
bullshit kind
doesn't
of guy too.
yeah. The no bullshit kind of people, especially in this industry, will kind of feel isolated, or I do anyways. So
Yeah.
that's why I appreciate him.
You good? Thank you.
Practice, practice, practice.
Louise wonders what part of your work feeds your soul the most.
Crowd work. Crowd work. Being in front of crowds. To the point where, if I'm ever in front of a crowd, now I have to say, drop your expectations and bring a sense of humor, because um it's one of those things where I can't. When I first started doing this work and like training myself, I was very stiff, and I've had people tell me over the years of seeing me, well, when you really got into this in the beginning, you were like uptight and stiff and tried to like be a thing. Now I'm just like, guys, we're gonna swear, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna laugh, and then getting other people to laugh and have fun. It's not for everybody. Um, but having the opportunity to get a crowd of people laughing at themselves, at one another, finding peace through laughter. And again, I will tell you, I know exactly what theater folks say and musicians and artists say when they talk about the energy of a crowd. The energy of a crowd can do everything. It will change every single time. um but having a chance to laugh and bring a sense of humor. I even noticed that when I do these podcasts, I don't really lean into that too much, because they're podcasts and they're being recorded, and I try to dial back the silly a little bit, but I'll tell you, like, the laughter and the fun and the joy that we can have as a group of people together, and how my events have turned into giving gifts away. Like, I've got one coming up this Saturday in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and I have like 3 totes of gifts that I'm bringing, and I don't know what they're for or who they're for, but I always love how they're for somebody who is uh they go to helpers. So when I do my gifts from spirit event, um everybody who this angel gets gifts for or tells me what gifts to bring, they're always helpers. They're always like the teachers, the counselors, the social workers, the people who are very heartfelt. Like, I did an event where every single person, 7 different sets of gifts, all went to teachers, and that just kind of blew my mind. So it is always acknowledging the people who have like the thankless job, who are working, as nurses, teachers, counselors, helpers, a lot of mom energy, a lot of like that selfless, thankless energy, and then they get recognized, and um, and it's really about the humor, because I feel like some of this work can be too goddamn heavy. It's the pain and trauma and grief and death and all of that. And I think that's where humor can really help us get through those heavy topics. So my absolute favorite thing to do is to get in front of a crowd that has great energy.
Awesome. Thank you for answering. Great
Thank you for the
answer.
question.
Next question is from Diana. Are past loved ones able to tell you about the future?
There's so little in our future that's set in stone. There are some things that are set in stone in our future. They can say, hey, if you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And I've had people both listen to me and not listen to me. I think a few episodes ago, I gave a one-on-one reading to a Katie, and her grandmother first comes through and says, "Close, bottom of the stairs, get it, fix it, blah 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 blah, fix it, fix it, fix it." Didn't do it. Her sister tripped over clothes on the bottom of the stairs, fell through a door and broke her toes. So the grandmother is coming through going, hey, I see this problem that you have. I'll oftentimes get places in a person's home, like your back porch needs fixing, those steps need fixing, you need to wear the proper how many times I have to tell people to wear the proper shoes in wintertime because their spirits are watching them going, hey, you keep wearing those flip-flops out into the snow, you're going to fall and break a hip. I have had a certain amount of people um, not listen to me and then tell me that they wish they had. I also want to say that in the last episode I did, and I love this, in the last episode I did, I was drawn to a woman and asked her about, I think it was Missy. I asked her about, like, when's the last time she like got a mammogram. She said, I haven't gone to the doctors in years and years and years. And Missy messaged me and said that she's got her appointment set for her mammogram. So she's going to get things checked out. If nothing happens, nothing happens. And now she's taking care of herself. If she goes and gets a mammogram and sees something that has just started, that's the kind of future that spirit would tell me about. But if Missy had something going on that was incurable or fatal, they wouldn't even bring it up. They'd be like, well, that's her journey. She doesn't need to know about it. So they can do things for us and tell us about things in the future. Uh, but some things we have to go through, and spirit's going to be really careful with us because we're so obstinate. Every single one of us is obstinate, and we can hear a thing that might happen and we can try to make it not happen, and then we make it happen. I mean, this is kind of the stuff of fairy tales and like prophecy and warnings of that nature. If we hear something from somebody like me that something's not going to happen and we try to make it not happen, we could make it happen. So there's very little about the future that they'll give us. They really like to talk about, well, here's how you shift your mind, your heart right now so you can create the best future. A lot of the messages that I'm getting right now is trying to encourage people to remain calm when they're getting manipulated by news and propaganda. Because when you're watching the news and you're going on your social media feed and you're seeing all this stuff, these platforms, they're designed to kind of like freak us out and get us into fight or flight mode, get us angry and get us like just manipulate us. And I just can feel how so many people are putting themselves through stress based on what they're being exposed to. They're not questioning it, they're just kind of along for the ride. And it's this idea that, well, if you can reduce your stress right now, well, you're not going to develop the heart disease or the cancer or those things in the future. So they can tell us about the future. Yes, it's not always a guarantee. And then they have to trust that we're going to listen. Because sometimes people don't move the laundry off the bottom of their stairs and they'll fall and trip and what have you. So that's not a thing. How do I say it? there's a certain amount in our life that's fated to happen, and it's going to happen no matter what we do to stop it or not stop it. And then there's a whole bunch of things like the traffic tickets. My gram shows me cops when I'm driving. So if I'm going like 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit, I can slow down before I go around the corner. Those sorts of things that they will always help us with if they can. But I think everybody here can relate to the idea of feeling something about a person or a situation, not listening to it, and then getting past that person or situation and wishing that they had. That's,
Sure.
that's how we develop intuition. So, they're telling us all these things all the time through our faculties of feeling. That doesn't mean we're going to listen. I think we all can look back on our life and go, I knew it about that person. I just didn't listen to myself. So, all right, Brandy, another one.
All right. Are you able to shut off your abilities? If not, do you wish you could at times? This is a question from Laura.
They kind of just turn themselves on by themselves. Like my spirit knows when to do this. Um, I can think like I can't think of a time when it's really been intrusive, where it's really caused me to have issues. So it's kind of like they come on when they need to and they go off when I don't need them to. I take the things that I get in dreams very seriously. I brought a stranger in St. Johnsbury flowers once. Pulled right up to our house, brought her flowers because of her appearing in my dream. Um, so I take those messages very seriously, but I don't have control over that when I'm like sleeping. I don't really worry about them being on when they shouldn't be. It would be a thing that would drive me crazy. Like if I walked through the grocery store or Walmart and was able to hear people's issues. I will say that let me put this. I have been in positions where I can have a little bit of fun with it. Like I can turn it on. By default, it's kind of like off by itself, but I can turn it on. I think of if for folks here, for folks who are local to Littleton, there's a Thai restaurant on Main Street called Chang Thai. My husband was busy one night doing something, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go have sushi. And the only place I could sit was at the bar. So I had like was like, I'm gonna have a couple rolls of sushi at the bar. And I just started like chatting up the bartender, and like she has no idea who I am. I have no idea who she is. She has no idea what I do. But she said something about she randomly dropped a message, like a sentence of something of like, oh yeah, years and years ago I went and saw a psychic or something. And that's all I needed to hear to then like start messing with her a little bit. Like it'd be like, oh well, and then like talking to her about her ex-boyfriend, like weird things that I could like make happen just to like play and mess around with her a little bit. And then eventually it came out that that's what I did because she was just like weirded out by all the things that I knew about her. All of the things that I knew about her, even in that playful place, was helpful for her. uh and it turned into like this little bit of a reading, but she gave me permission to step into that place with the way she was talking to me and all of that. So by default they're kind of off, um but I can turn them on in certain places. Like I could literally just stand in Walmart and go, you're cheating on your wife, like like all of that. It's way too much. It's just way too much. It's way too much for a person's brain to handle, I think. All right.
Kathy Kathy M asks, does everyone have a guardian angel? And if so, do you have the same one throughout your life? What are the signs that one is with you?
If you consider your ancestors to be like guardian angels, or spirit guides, then everybody has ancestors. Everybody has beloved dead looking out over them because they see us as kind of like handicapped. Like we have problems here being human, so they want to help us and guide us. I use the word like angel very specifically because most often what I have found is that everybody has guardians in spirit. N- Not not everybody has an angel per se. The signs of somebody having like an angel is somebody who would have wanted to, like, most often they're the helpers, like they're the help, again, the helpers with a capital H, the teachers, the nurses, the counselors, and they're the ones that would have wanted to have done that from a very early age. They kind of come into earth with a sole purpose of wanting to help, wanting to help, uh wanting to help. And they can stay the same. It's kind of like a partnership. I've seen them swap where and it's interesting because I think some people are walking around that are actual embodied angels, like a higher form of spirit that has incarnated as human to come back to come here and to help. There's kind of like that idea of the one-way mirror and knowing, hey, it's like I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna get dirty, I'm gonna go back to earth, I'm gonna help. You're gonna stay here and kind of run the controls in the background. You're gonna help me, you're gonna send me the messages I need, you're gonna put the things on my path that I need. I would say like when I do group work, I can definitely feel people who have angelic entities around them, helping them do the good, helpful balancing work in the world. Um, I hope that answers the question. I hope that answers the question because it's kind of a big topic for folks. I will say that, and I feel like it's safe to say here, you know, the people that are opposite of the helpers, the herders, um, the people who are like the murderers and the rapists and the pedophiles, they don't have guardian angels. They don't have those types of spirits watching out over them, helping them. They're kind of left to their own devices, and to a great degree some of them, even the worst cases of people, have been abandoned by their ancestors. The ancestors don't want to help them, like avoid the car accident or avoid that. They don't want to help them be evil, so they can be abandoned. I hope that answers the question, Kathy. We'll go with the next one, Brandy.
Okay. Paula says, what are your thoughts about being visited by seemingly random animals multiple times?
I would take that very seriously. I do know that spirit can speak to us through animals. And again, the relationship that we have in our modern age is so disconnected from nature and the earth that it can be very hard for us to go, well, the earth is spirit, nature is spirit. I would take that very seriously. And what I would do, especially for folks who have questions about spirit animals or animal guides or anything like that, my number one rule when working with animals of any type is to learn about it scientifically. To learn about it scientifically. So uh here's a here's a good example. Um I can remember going out into the woods one time because I was having a personal conflict with somebody in my family, and we were getting up on Christmas, and I was like really emotional about the conflict and the fight we were having. I was feeling really emotional, like, oh my gosh, like, are we gonna like not have Christmas with each other? And um I go into the woods and I hear a hawk. And now this is like close to December, so I'm like, why am I hearing a hawk? This is like mid-December. I'm like, I don't know why I'd be hearing that in the woods. And it was the name of the type of hawk escapes me. It's a fisher kind of hawk, like it just dives into the water. um the name escapes me. I of course it would escape me right now. But it was very strange for me to see this because I wasn't around any body of water. I wasn't near open water. This is where they hunt from, and this bird should not have been in the woods with me at this time of year. So what I did is like I stamped a picture of it, found out what bird it was, and then started to research that bird. The bird is a fish eater. Um, and I kind of looked at what it did as an animal. Okay, you're eating fish, you're diving deep. Fish are often, and water is very much equated with emotion. So I saw that animal coming to me to help me kind of like eat my unhealthy or my heartful emotions, like go out for a walk, see this animal that eat fish, it was a very powerful moment. So if you do have a connection to an animal, uh like fox is coming to my mind. There's a lot of birds that can visit us over and over again. Learn about it as much as you can, and then go into the more esoteric or metaphysical definitions. But whenever you're working with an animal, as in spirit relationship, does it burrow underground? Does it fly? Does it swim? What does it do? How does it interact with its family? What does it represent from that natural perspective? And that's going to be 99% of the time the message you need to hear. All right, Brandy, another one.
Aaron C says, yes. Aaron C says, do you have any advice for those of us who might be connecting to their own intuitive side? How do you decipher the difference between spirit connecting and your own thoughts? I struggle with imposter syndrome pretty often and doubt or second guess myself. I'm not sure how to know when it's just me or a message from them.
That's the greatest question. That's the question that I think I get asked often is like, how do you know it's intuition and not paranoia? Well, paranoia and fear, you got to there's a couple of ways to go about this. One, fear is a human animal construct. Like fear doesn't live in spirit. So the messages that you're going to get from spirit are always going to be like love based, wellness based, for your own good based. How do you tell the difference? Well, I think when you can kind of feel in your body where it's coming from. Is it coming from your stomach or your lower abdomen? Try to identify where that feeling is. I would also ask you to identify the message. What's this message I'm getting? And then have a good divination practice. Like practice with divination. Practice with divination. Have a deck of cards that you know well and that you can trust, and then ask the question, what can you tell me about the feeling that I'm getting? And then pull a card. Um, the breathing techniques I think would be really good. And Erin, you can just put this in the chat for Brandy. Um, do you happen to have any fidget spinners near you? Like, are you like toys or fidget spinners near your desk? Those fidget spinners that people play with? Um, I think those might help if you don't, Erin. That's what I'm seeing is like the fidget. Um Also,
Erin says that she is playing with some fidget putty right now.
there you go. Okay. So in that instance where I can see that, like I'm being shown that, I think when you do this enough, when the messages are coming from external or internal. Um the other interesting thing that I get for Erin too is I think that there you want to really sit with your idea of fear and how fear serves you. Awareness, worry, fear. So, Aaron, it feels like your mother could have been a very fearful person, and that this stuff comes by to you honestly. Why do I keep seeing you clocking like 3 chess moves out? Well, if I do this thing, then that thing will happen, then that thing will happen, then that thing will happen. That's I don't want to say it's like the anxiety brain, but it is the hyper intellectual brain trying to clock and figure things out, where this stuff is related to feeling. Like, you have to get into a place where you can feel and let whatever you're feeling from spirit get translated through your own symbol library. That's why I kind of have an issue with it's kind of why I have an issue with this stuff, especially people saying that they were talking to dead people as kids, because I think this happens a lot of times in somebody's older years, because you have to build up an emotional library and you have to build up a symbol library. Like, you have to go through a certain amount of experiences and memories for spirit to go through your mind and go, "Brrr, that's the thing I'm talking about. That's the thing I'm talking about." For instance, Aaron, I don't know how old you are, where you're from, but I would really encourage you to watch some Fraggle Rock. Fraggle Rock. So, Brandy, could you read me those messages that Aaron's sharing? I'm not reading them as they're coming through. Thank you.
Of course. I already read you the one where she's playing with the fidget putty. The
Yep.
recent one says, someone recently told me to stay neutral because I tend to live in the past or future and not the present. My thoughts are all over the place, which definitely makes it really hard to keep any potential messages straight. And she says she loves Fraggle Rock.
Okay. So, when I talk about getting back to like a childlike nature, imagination, you know, play, rhythm, those types of things, uh, I have a real hard time personally meditating because I have a hard time sitting still. That's why I think some of the best messages that we can oftentimes get is coming from like a car, like driving in a car, that does something to our mind to help us like zone out. In fact, it's interesting because when this podcast began, I was going to call it the Vitamin Joy podcast. Like, hey, get your joy in like a vitamin. Until I produced it and went to publish it and found somebody else already had the Vitamin Joy podcast. So I couldn't use it.
Really?
So then what happened is I actually said, I go, hey, Spirit, I need a catchy title for my podcast. I am going to go on a drive. And while I'm driving, I want you to give me the answer. And the Die, Laugh, Love podcast, the Die, Laugh, Love name came because I went for a drive. And that's it's not a Josh thing. It was what was given to me. So we can get a lot from just going on drives. Also, Aaron, let's unmute Aaron because I got a question. I don't need your video, Aaron, but I do want to hear your voice. Um, if you don't mind, of
Hey,
course.
no, I don't mind at
Hi.
all. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm
Okay. So, Aaron, are you wearing like a smartwatch?
No, I'm not. No,
Okay. Do you have anything around your wrists?
nope. Sometimes I
You
wear
don't
a
have
hair tie on my wrist, but I do
No,
have
it wouldn't.
carpal
That wouldn't be
tunnel
it.
issues. Yep, and so does my
Carpal
husband's
tunnel.
having really bad carpal tunnel. Both of us have
Okay.
pretty bad issues with it. Yeah.
All right, so I'm being like I'm being brought to your wrist in terms of like carpal tunnel. Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you an example for this. Like if I have to get in front of an audience in a place where like I'm sweating because it's so hot,
Yep.
it will shut my connection down because My body, it's like so this like even like the carpal tunnel issue, I think, is having an effect on you because even if you have this low-lying pain that you're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to kind of keep you more aware or locked in your body than allowing you to get more spirit messages.
Okay.
So if
That
you could
makes
do
sense.
anything, because I'm just being drawn to your wrist,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes the weird thing, like why I ask about a smartwatch, um, sometimes spirit doesn't like having like a Wi-Fi or broadcaster on somebody's wrist like that.
Yeah.
And that changes for folks, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, different folks can handle that versus others. But I would try to work on your wrist and try to
Okay.
figure out how to get through uh, that pain. The other interesting thing too is for folks who are, this seems to be again a common theme. Folks who want to uh, engage this, you should know that this comes from your heart center. Like for people to step into this place, they got to be a loving person. They have to be able to speak to love. And I think a lot of us can shut down our heart centers
Mm-hmm.
because of vulnerability, protection. We've gotten beat up along the way by folks, and we kind of tend to like shut off that love and disconnect ourselves from that love. So even listening to some love songs to kind of shift that energy into your heart center and kind of encourage it to open up before you do this work really helps. One of the best songs that I use a lot is it's a long song, but it's the very last song on Meatloaf's album Bat Out of Hell.
Okay.
So the very last song on that album, um I don't even know what it's called. I think I just listened to it so much on my playlist. But it is a very sweeping, like it's got piano and orchestra and vocals and all of that. So I think when you're like listening to things that help give you goosebumps, like Amazing Grace can really do it if you don't
Mm-hmm.
lean into it too much.
Yeah.
Listening to stuff that can help open up the heart center. Super
Okay.
important.
I do that a lot, but not often enough, probably, and not like intentionally prior to trying to connect. So that makes sense.
So Sarah said it's Paradise by the Dashboard Light. I know it's not Paradise by the Dashboard Light because that's in the middle of it. The song that I'm talking about is For Crying Out Loud by Meatloaf. It's 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay.
For crying
I'll
out
look
loud.
into it.
Yeah. I mean, that
Add
just works
that.
for me. Other
Yeah, I'll
people,
add that to my list of all the ones I like. Yeah.
other people are going to have other songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So take care of that rest. All right, Brandy, more questions,
Cool.
please.
Thank you, Josh.
Got it.
All right. You kind of answered this, but Devin
Well, you
says,
kind of cut out there for
how
me,
do I
Brandy.
connect to my spirit guide?
Hmm. I don't know if you're just cutting out for me or other people, and I only um
Sorry about that.
Brandy is glitchy. No, that's okay. That's okay. Um
Devin says, how do I connect to my
so Brandy, you're kind of glitchy for everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into the chat here. Or Brandy, if you can hear me, you can send me like copy and paste a message into my chat. Um Okay. So
Okay. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I'm just going to kind of read them because I'm going to like start kind of hit them a little bit. Can your past on loved ones hear bad things you say about them after they pass, or can they feel the regret you have about things you didn't do? Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. One-way mirror. Like Angela asked, can they hear the bad things that we say? Yeah. Most often they understand why we're saying the things. They understand why we're saying those things. They literally watch us like a movie. That's super important for folks to remember. That's why our piece is their piece. the things that they do that we say, we can talk to them like a suspect can talk to the cop through the one-way mirror, but that message coming back is difficult for us just because of where we're at. um Danny asked, what's the number one thing you recommend to people who are intuitive to help enhance their psychic or mediumship skills? I say altar, like having a spiritual space in your home, having a regular divination practice where you're learning oracle cards, tarot cards, runes, and then working with your ancestors. Like I give my ancestors a cup of coffee and maple syrup. I understand them. I try to listen to them. Developing a relationship with ancestors, divination, and a regular spiritual practice, super, super, and super important. Um, I don't know if Brandy is still frozen or
Okay,
if you can
I am
talk.
here, I
You're
think.
here. Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Thank you for that.
sure. Lindsay says, what role does dreams play in the spirit world? I had a dream about a loved one who passed away, and when I got up in the morning, there was an item on my wall that was theirs that had flown off.
Boy, okay. So we do have, I can say that we have spirit visitations. Absolutely, spirit visitations and dreams. Humans are going to have two types of dreams, what I call the washing machine dreams, and then what I call the spirit visitation dreams. Um, that is definitely going to be a visitation in terms of, you have them come to you in a dream and something flew off the wall. I will say that dreams can be prophetic, meaning like they can tell us about things that are going to happen. Only if that ever happens and you feel like you're getting a dream about the future, it's only going to happen for one of two reasons: either to help you prepare for it, like Uncle Henry's going to pass, or don't get on the airplane and then the airplane crashes. So they're going to either try to prevent something from happening through you, they're going to come through and just say hi, but if they're showing the future, it's always to either help you prepare for it or to change it, and it's usually quite blatant. I will tell people that when they have visitations from spirit, like definitely going to you've got to trust that for what that is, because they are coming through that place where your brain waves are at, where you're receptive to it, and they are coming to say hello to you. They want the best for you. Got to trust that.
Paula wants to know, can a spirit of my family help heal someone outside of my family?
If you ask them to, most often, like what the language is love. And you said it was Paula or Paula?
I think so. Paola.
Paula.
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 Yeah,
Paula.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
it's okay.
So, Paula, question for you. So you have a spirit in your family, right? Like an ancestor, what have you. And then you have somebody else in your life that you want healing for.
Yeah,
Okay. So, um, the person that you want healing for, is it somebody that you love?
yeah,
Okay. If you love them, then your spirit's going to love them and see them as um a loved one, a family. They wouldn't even have had to have met them. For instance, like my husband's spirits are around me, my spirits are around my husband, even though that I would never have met his grandparents, that sort of thing. The one thing, and I feel like this is important, uh are you sure you're talking about healing? Hold on one second. So um because what I'm getting is that spirit can't get us out of our own free will. Like if like what you see as them being broken is them believing a certain thing. Like spirit can't change what people think or feel or believe. If there is an illness, for instance, um spirit, interestingly, they like fatty things, like fat and calories and cheese and milk and things that have like a lot of calories. Can I ask, Paula, was there ever like goulash in your family?
yeah.
So like what I'm seeing, and part of me, it doesn't have red sauce. It looks like macaroni noodles with like a hamburger.
I'm of Eastern European descent, so yeah, something along
Is
those
that
lines.
something not with the red sauce? Because like what they'll call like American chop suey is like that what I just described with like red sauce.
Mm.
What I'm seeing was looks like macaroni with some hamburgers. Make that dish, right? And set out a little bit of a dish in front of a picture or in a sacred space and just say, Graham, this is for you. I need you to help so and so. Give them the full name of that person, light a candle. That's sort of that's a little witchcraft there, girl. Like you like, make offerings to spirit. If you are asking them to do something, they could use the energy. Candles, smoke, fatty things. I use maple syrup a lot, excuse me, because it's sweet, but um I'm really getting for you like a little dish of what sounds like goulash would work for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Diana would like to know, do you ever show up with gifts and the person is not present?
That's happened. It's happened very rarely. Like very, 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 very rarely. I can think of like one or two times where I was like, well, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this. And a couple of people like we made it work, but it was like it was I just sat with a woman who when I was in St. Johnsbury a few months ago, I had to bring her Chinese checkers, like a Chinese checkers board, a lilac candle, and plates that had ducks on them. She could put the Chinese checkers together. She could put the lilacs together, but she's like, I have no idea what these plates with ducks are. And I'm like, okay. She comes to see me for a reading and she's like, well, I called my mom and my mom just gave her sister our German plates with ducks on them. And unfortunately, that didn't happen in front of the audience. That happened after the fact. So there was a gift there showing like, hey, spirit's looking out over. I've seen it happen, and some things are out of my control. Like I've brought gifts for people who didn't know about my event until like a half hour prior. Like I had gifts for 2 weeks for somebody that didn't know about my event for a half hour, which goes to show you a lot to be said about time and like how spirit perceives time and sees time happening. There could be some things that like and this is the other big part that I have to deal with when people don't want to accept it and they will just sit there and shut up. That really is bothersome to me. That happens to me because people don't want to talk in front of people and do the thing. And I try to make it so people understand that's what the event's about. Um, but maybe once or twice, yeah.
Tina would like to know if pets visit us.
Yeah, pets are with us for sure.
Yeah. And then Angela asks, what does it mean when you dream of one deceased loved one showing you another deceased loved one's urn?
Say hi to them, I would say. Don't look too deeply into it. Like you want to go with the feeling that you have in that dream. Like, are they chastising you? Are they giving you a sense of approval? Do they like what you've done with the urn? Do they want it moved? Do they want it dusted? I would check in with the urn. I would go where it's at. Is there like dust on it? Do they want it, do they want you to say hi to them? Um, yeah, usually when it comes to that, they'll be very, very straightforward, very, very basic, very simple.
Okay. I think we have gotten them all.
All right. Thank you for that. I do want to cut this short because we've been here for a while. Thank you for your questions. Just pay attention to your dreams, light your candles, say your prayers to your folks, to your people, ask for help, know that they're going to do their damnedest, go for drives, try to get away from the anxiety, do things that have rhythm, do things that have like something where you can zone out, like crocheting and knitting is a real good thing. You can look into the art of shamanic drumming and rattling, because drumming and rattling, those types of activities, help move our brain waves to a more receptive state. Okay, so that's it. I do want to leave this with everybody. Saturday, April 4th, is our grand reopening of our business in Littleton, New Hampshire. I would really love to see you there if you're local. It's going to be quite the thing. We haven't had a day off in weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks because we are doing our damnedest to get ready for it. So if you're local, we would love to have you there. Other than that, I think I will do this again, but the next podcast is going to be, I think, 2 weeks from today. So I'm going to skip next week because I'm traveling and all sorts of things. Just take care of yourselves. Keep your chin up in these interesting times, and don't let the fear machine of social media and media get to you too much. Okay, stay informed, but stay sane. All right.
Josh, what time
Yeah.
is the grand opening?
Well, we're going to be open 10 to 6, so just kind of show up 10 to 6. We're going to have some cool little surprises there. Yeah,
That was a
and
question in the chat, so I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, thank you. We're under Gold House Pizza on Main Street, so it's going to be quite the spot. I was just working with the Photoshop today to get the decals on the windows. Let me just say, I cannot wait until we're in and everything's behind us. So take care of yourself, guys. All right, keep your chin up. All my love to you.
Take care.